Welcome to the Speaking Podcast and also the PodFather podcast. You will find all my podcasts. You scan the QR code if you're watching on Spotify, BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, or go to rycon.com. If you're looking for virtual assistants, go to va.world. My guest, a speaker, hence why it's going on the Speaking Podcast, strategist, an author, but also, more importantly, a podcaster, which is in the top 1% from Denver, Colorado. Please welcome Katie Brinkley.
Thank you so much for having me, Roy. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this because I kind of looked and you worked at iHeartRadio, I believe, as well. Yeah, so I suppose let's kind of start off kind of your career, kind of getting in before you got to the starting the podcast.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because I come from radio. I always wanted to be on the radio. I loved sports. So when I was a kid growing up, my dad and I played competitive softball, and my dad and I would drive around Colorado for these softball tournaments. And he loved talk radio, which, as a 13-year-old girl, it was like, ugh. But he loved talk radio. And I remember there was a woman that would come on like at the top of the hour, and her name is Susie Wargin, and she was the sports chick. And I was like, man, that is just so cool to hear a girl on the radio talking about sports. And so that's what I wanted to be when I grew up. I went to college, was a journalism degree, and I was so fortunate that I landed my dream job right out of college. I actually worked with Susie Wargin. Loved what I did. I was the post-game reporter for the Colorado Rockies and the Denver Broncos. Again, loved it. And then this just kind of says how old I am. But this thing called SiriusXM came out, and everyone in the radio industry panicked. A lot of people moved to TV or to print, and I moved over to marketing. So that's where I kind of left my radio journey. But I always had that passion about it. And flash forward about 15 years later, I was in the middle of another career change, and my boss at the time said to me, Katie, you're so good at social media. It'd be cool if that's all that you did. And, it'd be neat if you could find a way to get back into radio. And that's where podcasting has kind of come in. So I still get to get behind the microphone now twice a week and talk, and it's a joy to do it. So I love what I do.
And when you started working for the radio, I mean, it was brilliant that you were actually able to work under the person that kind of motivated you to do that. Yeah, that's incredible. But like, what did you kind of learn? Because like some people aspire to do that. And it's kind of similar with the podcasting as well, if you've never done it. So I just curious, kind of, what did you learn from her? That because
Yeah.
you don't learn everything from the college, it's like a lot of it is
Yeah.
kind of in the zone.
Well, so again, I'm dating myself a bit here. This was back before there were a lot of female sports reporters. In the US here, it's pretty common to see a sideline reporter and have her be a female. We're starting to see more female reporters in the booth. But when I was doing it, I was the only girl in the room. It was me and a bunch of dudes. And Susie said to me, she's like, Katie, one thing that since you are most likely going to be the only female in the room, people are going to be looking at you under a microscope. Your questions have to be better than the men's. You have to be more prepared than they are, and you're under a microscope. And it honestly was such great advice because it taught me that I'm going to have to, like, I would go to the entire Rockies game, take notes about, okay, well, you struck out the first 2 times, blah, blah, blah. And then what were you looking for? Were you looking for the changeup on the third at bat, or whatever it was? So it told me that I had to do more research. And I think that has set me up for success with being a business owner of, okay, well, let's make sure that I know all the answers here before I actually go in and present something, because I don't want it to be wrong. So yeah, it was great advice from a radio perspective, but also from a business perspective as well.
And with the iHeartRadio, then it's because they're a big podcasting platform. Was it that
Yeah.
then? Was it big on the podcasting at that stage, or was it just radio?
It was still just radio. Yeah, so it was a time before well, I mean, podcasts were around, but really not. It wasn't at the point where it is now, where we can all, I mean, anybody can really have a podcast. I mean, yeah, I have a microphone and, all the fancy equipment over here and, but at the same time, like really, if you have something that you want to share, it's very easy to just get started. And I think that's the biggest hurdle. Um, at that time, no, it was not as easy, like RSS feeds and all these different podcast hosts. It was a little bit more of a barrier to entry than it is now. So
And were you were helping with some shows with
Mhm.
iHeartRadio, yeah? So were they just normal radio? I mean, you
Yeah,
obviously
so I
wrote a lot of that because that's like the preparation what you're doing for your own shows, then. So
totally. Yeah, so in addition to being a sports reporter, I also was a technical producer. So I did all of the pre-screening for the calls. I did all of the sound levels and playing in the intro music, all of the stuff that happens behind the scenes of a radio show that you typically don't even think about. But um, again, that kind of set me up for success with my podcast because I knew how to go in and adjust levels. I knew how to do editing. I knew how to look at all that. So, yeah, it's amazing how that, those little things where I was like, oh, well, I can go ahead and take a shift. I want some more hours. I'll just do the technical producer for so and so show, and how it really set me up for success with having a podcast.
and just curious with your kind of podcasting journey then, because I mean I'm doing it 7 years and I guess it's totally changed from the way I was doing it before. At the start, I was going in like Audacity, and I was taking out all the pause fillers, and if there was a long ums and ahs, taking all that stuff out, and then I'd re-listen to it again before I'd upload it. And now I've just put it up raw. And even as you saw there, I do the intro. I used to have insert, and then it's so much work. It's like because you're s- saving it, and then that's taking time, and that's slowing down your computer, and then you have to do it. And now I do the enhancement, and it's
Yep.
so much easier. But the thing is, we think I mean, obviously having a good mic and everything is good, but you think by having it perfect, but like what I was doing is like I was looking at the top podcasts, Rogan and Patrick. I think they're just putting it out raw, and it's not kind of making a difference. Does it really make a difference? Do people prefer when it's raw like that? And I think they do because it doesn't hurt you. And I'm just curious, is that something you did at the start? You were kind of making sure everything was perfect and change, or what's your kind of journey?
Yeah, at the very beginning of my show, I started my podcast during the pandemic, in April of 2020 when I was given the gift of time. Like so many others, I was at home and I was like, oh, now is the time to start my show. And I think it was great because I got to see all the different aspects that went into it. And now, it's 2025, things have really become a lot easier. I was recording my podcast, editing it in GarageBand, doing the intros, the out. I mean, I was doing all the things, and my 30-minute podcast was taking me about 5 hours a week to produce. And it it's now I do 2 episodes a week. So I mean, like, there'd be no way I could spend that much time if it wasn't for learning some of these different tools. And I think that technology has really come a long way to make it so that it is more accessible for people to produce more shows or better shows. I mean, I don't know if there's Descript, which is a great tool for editing podcasts. I mean, Riverside, another great tool for editing podcasts that make it just super easy. So I think that, with having a show, I was spending so much time on it at the very beginning. It allowed me to learn a lot of the different aspects that go into it. But I think that if you're getting hung up on starting a show and thinking that's gonna, it's, oh, well, I don't have the time. Well, think about where you can, like, what tools can help you or where you can potentially outsource, and find a VA that can help you with editing and creating a better show.
Think I don't know. It's not somewhere about MySpace. That was that.
No?
Yeah. Yes. Because I was remembering. I was like, I remember that, and then I thought it was gone, and I actually went in, and is it still there? What
Still
is the
around.
story with MySpace?
Yeah, so being a social media anything didn't exist when I first got interested in social media. Like I said, I went to school to become a radio journalist, and that's what like at the college radio station. That's where I did a lot of my hours. I did a lot of sports shows, music shows, and I also was the news director and one of the music directors for the college radio station. Well, as a college station, you can't really pay a lot of royalties to play people's music on the air. It's all public radio. So it was the music director's job to find bands to send us their music that we could play for free. And this was when my school wasn't cool enough to even be on Facebook, the Facebook. It was the Facebook back then. So I'm really dating myself now. But even though I had a .edu address, the Facebook would not approve me to be on their platform. So I was all in on MySpace. And if you remember, MySpace was really big for bands. That was one, like you could choose your own music, your top 8, all that. And I was like, man, if I could just connect with different bands, maybe I could get some of these bands to send me their music for free instead of having to write like a letter, which is what we were doing. We were writing letters and sending them with manila envelopes to be like, here, send us back your music. We'll pay for the shipping. And so I just started reaching out on MySpace, and I quickly learned how impactful it could be when you go in with intention on social media. And I was getting all this music sent to the station. I was getting bands to come on the air for free. I was getting like tickets to shows. And the station director was like, Katie, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm just connecting with them on MySpace. And once, like that was the very first social media platform, I feel. And once I learned, like, okay, if you go in with intention instead of just being like, oh, here's my top 8, really magic can happen in a digital space. So when Facebook opened up for the world, I went all in and was like, how can I learn the systems on this? How can I learn the systems on Instagram and then LinkedIn? And then before I knew it, I had learned all these different ways of building out connection and growing an account authentically without just relying on algorithms. And now that's why I have my agency and what I talk about on my podcast every week.
And just curious, because when I went in and looked at MySpace, I could see it was more kind of, you'd see the kind of faces that are all over it. They're not the faces that, that you can see kind of, they wouldn't be Trump supporters, let's say. And Justin Timberlake, I think, bought it. But is it still kind of music oriented? Like, do you use it? Is it any good for the podcast, for example?
It's not really that much of a media maker anymore. I would steer clear. I feel if you want to grow your podcast, putting it out there on platforms like Substack is a great tool because it's a newsletter platform for your podcast. Substack is great. Medium is great. I think that one of the things that we need to keep in mind is that when we have a podcast, you're holding the microphone, and that's a fantastic way to build out thought leadership. It's a great way to get a book written. It's a great way to get more speaking opportunities. But if you're only showing up and producing only a podcast and not finding different ways to push it out there, everyone consumes content differently, right? I might listen to a podcast, but you might really enjoy reading articles. So finding different ways to push out that great content that you've created across different mediums is a great way to really build out your voice and your brand.
So with the Substack, because I'm familiar with Substack, but I've never used it for my podcasts. And usually it's the people for The Awakening, because that's a podcast that I have for Expose and Thought Interruption, but with Solution, most of the doctors and stuff like that, because they're censored everywhere, they're all on that. So when you're using that for your podcast, are you actually are you kind of like blogging and having the episode as well? I presume you're not just putting the link to the episode. You do both, a bit of both, yeah?
Yeah, so repurpose. One of the ways that I repurpose my show is through a LinkedIn article. If you want to check it out, you can see it on my LinkedIn. It's called The Social Situation. But the way I format it on my LinkedIn article, spoiler alert, I just literally copy and paste it over to Substack. So it has an intro, like a couple paragraphs, a link to listen to the show is embedded into it so if people want to listen to it on like Spotify, Then I get to the good stuff, and then at the very end, I include a link to my YouTube, and then I include ways to get in touch with me. I have found that this format works really, really well to really nurture an audience and grow your show. Um, I also produce, my podcast comes out twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, but I don't talk about it on LinkedIn until 3 weeks later. So it's just to kind of give it that second boost. But then on Substack, I talk about it when the podcast comes out. So I mean, there's different strategies for everyone. You might be listening and say, like, that sounds like a lot of work, Katie. I think that, I do have a team. I think that hiring a team is a great way to really amplify your voice. And I think that if I hadn't hired my very first VA 5 years ago, and her first job was to help with the podcast, I I don't even know if I'd have a business anymore. Like, it's tremendous on how, if you have help, and if you think you're not ready to scale yet, like, you are. You can, there's so many things that a VA can help you with.
And like you mentioned the 3 weeks, because I think I put up my video on the BitChute, YouTube, and Rumble, and I'm trying to really study the YouTube. I've spoke to a few people like that have millions of views, and some people do split tests of the thumbnails and so many different things and the guesting and all that. But my thoughts, and it's kind of like what you've just mentioned there. My thoughts is I'm being penalized by YouTube because they know it's going out on the other channels. Instead of just leaving it on YouTube for maybe 3 weeks and then putting it on the other ones. Is that, can that happen? Do you think that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, YouTube is a great resource. I love that, I think that everyone should put their show on YouTube, because people, like I said before, consume content differently. And you never know what, I mean, YouTube is owned by Google, which is a search engine. So how cool would it be if it suggested your show as the answer that someone types into a search bar? So I think that putting it on YouTube is a no-brainer, and looking to see, like, okay, so for me, like, I push out my content again a few weeks later on LinkedIn, and it's just to give it that second boost. The whole reason why I do 2 episodes a week, my Thursday episodes are much shorter than my Tuesday episodes. Now people can get a little, like, oh, I only have 10 minutes. I'll listen to this episode, and oh, I'm actually still driving. Hey, now my 30-minute episode starts playing. So now they have an opportunity to learn more from me and connect and hear more Katie Brinkley and Rocky Mountain Marketing. So, look at your data. Look at your data. I can't stress that enough. Your data will tell you so much when you start looking at it and be like, well, people aren't listening after 36 minutes. Maybe I should make my episodes shorter so that they listen to more. Maybe if I do 20-minute episodes, they can listen to two. So look at your data, experiment, and be everywhere.
I'm surprised with the amount. I mean, I constantly look at the data and I just see if there's a drop off. Hence why I stopped doing the intro and the outro. I once said I had the Polish one. I had a beatboxer because he was a young guy that done it, and I thought it was grand. And nobody said anything. And when I removed it, everybody was thanking me for removing it. I got like about 20 comments. Oh, thanks that you removed it. But so, but if I had at that time been watching the analytics, I would have seen that they're fast forwarding it, and that's what I do now. Like every day,
Yeah.
I'm watching the whole lot. There's a lot of like Hootsuite. I don't know, is that still going? There's a few different platforms in for
Yeah.
posting on all the different things, and I hear pros and cons because I wasn't doing it with the podcast, but prior to different businesses I was doing, it was. But a lot of the time, it looks great in one, but not in the other, and
Yep.
do you use kind of a platform that blasts it out to all the different things, or what's your thoughts on it?
So I have a different approach to social media, especially if you do have a show. I Hootsuite is great. Metricool is amazing. Loomly is great. Agorapulse. These are all fantastic social media schedulers. But I think I saw a statistic that said that there's 75 million pieces of content posted to Instagram every day. That's a lot of content, right? And if you're constantly competing to be seen by people, then don't you want to make sure that your content that you're pushing out is really, really good that says what it is that you do, who you serve, how you can help them, well, then if you're being more intentional with the content you're pushing out, that means that you have to know who your audience is on that platform. What is their problem? What is their pain point? What's their age? Where are they located? Again, this comes from looking at the data. And I found that for me, Instagram, I sold a lot of the book, which is cool. But I mean, that's a $15 option. And I got a lot of podcast listeners. Okay. That's really not like generating a ton of revenue for my business. Then I looked over at LinkedIn and I was like, man, even though I'm not posting very much over here, this is where my big agency clients come in. I need to spend more time over on LinkedIn creating content for them, solving their pain points, and I can focus a little bit less on Instagram and creating a bunch of content for the podcast over there. So really look to see if the podcast is your main revenue generator, spend more time on that platform, go all in, create great content out of it. But if you're just copying and pasting and pushing it out and hoping that people engage and see it and like it, then that's really not doing anything for your business, right? It's not doing anything to move the needle. Sure, it's making you more aware, but people are just going to scroll right by it. And the next time that you're making an ask like, hey, I need new clients, or hey, I'm doing this masterclass, whatever it is, people aren't going to stop their scroll because they're like, oh, I see their stuff all the time. It's just junk. So start posting less. Look at where your platforms that are actually converting and what type of content converts on each platform. And then, honestly, you can leave some platforms. I'm not on TikTok. It wasn't converting for me. So I gave myself the gift of time back and I'm not over on there. Could I very easily just repurpose a lot of my podcast episodes into TikToks? Yeah, but then it's more white noise and who really cares?
I got kicked off TikTok. I started it up again now, but I'd like just hitting. I was like 9 short of 10,000 followers, and
Oh, wow.
I got like some are getting like 13,000 views. The
Nice.
shorts that I was putting up, and just engagement and everything. But the problem is when you're removed from some of these things, and I mean, it's not just me. I saw loads of people. Like one of them was, they weren't things that were really bad. Look, I just mentioned about the cars, Ford cars having something like 16 tracking devices or something like that. It's like nothing major. It wasn't that I was saying something really heavy. And then, like a lot of the platforms, they shadow ban you or they remove you. I got linked. Even LinkedIn removed me for a week at one stage. I had to grovel to get that one back. It's like the problem is when you just have one, because a lot of people, sometimes people say get really good at one, but the problem is it can just get taken away. And then hence why I've got a few video channels, because like I got my link, YouTube got removed as well for the Awakening one. So now I have me as YouTube, and I'm very careful of what I put up because they can just take it away again. And I don't know, do you have clients that experience that? But it's just something you have to be conscious of.
I mean, you bring up such an important point, Roy, of we're just playing on rented land. That's why having an email list, having a podcast, I mean, that's like stuff you own. And
I've
it can
got
just get
podcasts removed.
what?
Spotify removed one. They've removed one on the Awakening, and they've removed one on the meditation because it's a healing frequency, and they removed it. And a friend of mine, I used to do a weekly show with him. He had his own show as well, Mind Wars, Chris Ryan. And they removed his podcast. And most people never even heard of something like that happening. It's 76 episodes. And he kept getting onto him to try to get the RSS feed, because I said you can transfer it across the Podbean or something like that. And they'd engage in the conversation. And in the end, he stopped podcasting, and it's a shame because he was brilliant at it. But like most people wouldn't think that's possible. But unfortunately, if you're exposing the things that they don't want you to know about, and he was making it up. He's 100% correct in everything he was saying. They just removed him, so I back up everything. I have everything just in case, because some people don't. They just upload it and then they're deleting the files. And I've got terabytes of storage and stuff. And like, just curious with you, like when you upload stuff and stuff to you, is that it? And you leave it in or do you have everything stored? Because when you do so many podcasts, it builds up. And when you're doing videos and if you're creating shorts as well, they all add up, the storage.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like my nightmare. Email lists are really important. In case anything ever happens, you can still get in touch with your list, in touch with people through your list. So,
But I think what you said is very important because because most people would be familiar with Mr. Beast, and some people think he's blasting up loads of stuff, but he doesn't. It's like, I know, it's a once a week, but it's really good content. So then people know when it's coming out. But it's like, I play with different things. Say the shorts. I do the shorts on Facebook for the Polish one.
yeah.
And sometimes in a week, the shorts, I put up maybe 6, it can get 10,000 views.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes that's just letting people, and I've seen my numbers, even though I haven't done an episode and I'm about to start it up again. It was going for 5 years, and then we just stopped it because,
Yeah.
and it's getting way more downloads now. And I
Yeah.
think
Because of
I
the
just
short.
decided to do the shorts. So, there's sometimes the shorts actually help and everything, but
Yep.
I totally agree with you. If you're putting out, people then just assume, this is terrible. And yeah, it's not serving you.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, as a business owner, I mean, we have to be very cognizant of our time, right? And if it's taking us too much time and we're not seeing the ROI on it, then is it worth it? And I think that social media is an incredible tool. Podcasting, incredible tool, but you have to be looking at it and say like, okay, is this working? Is this not working? But yeah,
Is it serving me or not? Like with
yeah.
the speaking part, it was something that I was asking because the PodFather is the latest one. This is the newest podcast, but with the speaking, I was always asking people about the social media and everything. Nobody likes it. It's like it's a time suck, and but what I see is most people like the LinkedIn, or they're just blasting it and then they're going in. It's like to everybody, buy for me, listen for me, and there's no engagement. And if you're starting to engage on TikTok or engage on the different things, that's when people start checking you out, or
Mhm.
they reward you on the platform for actually spending time on their platform. And
Yeah.
like what I noticed is one stage I had my TV, the YouTube connected to that, and my son was getting into magic, and he started watching all magic videos, but on my channel. And then I was listening, and then the guy was like, "Give me a thumbs up," and there he'd be reaching, and he'd give a thumbs up, and I got way more followers within the time he was doing that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So then I became conscious of giving thumbs up on different things. But what I see, so with your actually book, I think it was on Instagram, you asked people about the cover and you got a lot of engagement for that. So there's times that I've noticed, even if I put up a picture of me and my son, or a picture of something, or even from, rather than the show, you get
Yeah.
way more engagement, and then you can have the show. And it's just kind of realizing, paying attention to it. Maybe just touch on what you did with the book, because a lot of people, whether they're podcasters or business owners or coaches or whatever,
Yeah.
they can learn from what you did there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that, when what you're saying about sharing a picture of you and your son, well, that's what social media was kind of created about, right? Connection, community, and it looks like, oh, well, here's a picture of Roy. And so this is kind of where having the whole strategy come into play of like, okay, I want to promote my show, but I don't just want to say like new episode alert, because people aren't going to Facebook to listen to a podcast. They're going there to kill time, be entertained, and connect. And so, how can you get people to leave social media to go one step further with you? And it's by having a strategy behind every single post. Okay, well, I'm going to share this photo of me and my son to share and talk about the story about how XYZ what happened and I overcame this or whatever. And then the next post can be, I actually sit down with so and so guest and we talk all about how you can adjust your lifestyle so that you can do blah 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 blah. That ties back into that post. So I mean, now it's like, oh, okay, well there was now, oh, he's done what I'm going through right now. I'd like to listen to more of that. And you're getting the right people saying like, cool. I know a little bit about Roy. I know a little bit more about him personally. I trust him. I want to leave social media and go one step further with him and listen to his podcast about this.
So this is kind of one that I've experienced just yesterday. There was a post, silly post on Cork, a radio station, one of the biggest. There's two that half the city listen to. So Cork is the second biggest, and they ran about parking thing. And I kind of made a post, though. I'd prefer if you'd concentrate on things that will actually make a difference. And I kind of listed it. I won't mention it here because I'd be kind of, people will be kind of there for it or they want on it. But irrespective, there was so much engagement with it. It was like people laughing at it and abusive, or people that were totally understood it and in favor. And I don't mind that. It doesn't affect me. But I have seen people throwing the towel and giving up being on social media or being a podcaster or being, because they're being attacked. And I hear different things. And like, if I, even the Polish, when you, some of the stuff I see is like, what is wrong with people? It's like really horrible stuff. But I don't mind it. If it's nasty, I report it. If it's not too bad, I leave it there and just let people kind of have their own little battles on the thing. Well, what's your thoughts on the kind of the trolling, the negativity and stuff like that? Do you leave it there? What's, because unfortunately, not everyone can take that. They get really affected from it.
Yeah, I get it. I think it was it's fortunate because I did have a short stint as a flight attendant, and so I learned how to not take things a little bit too personally. But yeah, it's uh, it can be hard. There's some people that just have nothing better to do with their life except for being mean, and I feel really bad for them. But any engagement is good engagement. It gives you, if someone's trolling, it gives you the opportunity to say, well, why do you think that way? Or have you experienced this? Just continue the conversation, because the more that they troll your accounts and your posts, they're just gonna show up more, and your posts are gonna show up in their algorithm more, and you're gonna have the opportunity to uh you know just get more engagement, get more reach, because the more engagement that happens on the post, the algorithm says, oh, people like this, I'm gonna put it to more people. So just take it. And I mean, if it gets too bad, then you can always block somebody. But I mean, sometimes you can find out a lot of good information by from someone trolling. It's like, oh, well, this must be a pain point for people. What if I created a podcast about this topic and explained my point of view a little bit further and what some of the common objections are?
Yeah. Right. But what I actually put a comment. There was so many engagements, like really, and I gave a link then of proving my point from real scientists on the thing, and then there was zero interaction with that. So it's like kind of penny drop. But the problem is when you engage with some of these people, if they don't like, I mean, definitely come from a place of love where, hey, I'd like to know why you think this way and whatever. But sometimes then they can go to their way to just be reviewing you bad, going into your Facebook, giving you a 1 star. And they tend to do that. They tend to just kind of try to bash it. They have so much time and energy. So if it's a normal comment, but just negative, not too bad, but you have to be careful. And I reckon even before you engage, you can just check and you can go in and you know, it's either a bot or it's, a bit of a psychopath that or don't even engage. But there, as you said there, if it seems like a normal person, perhaps they can have a conversation. And as you say, they'll then push it out to more people based on, they're saying, oh, this is popular. And because people then are watching the thread and then they're liking or not liking, usually the people in favor of you are giving you a thumbs up and the people in favor of him is giving a thumbs up. So they're getting reinforced support, believing they're right. And it just keeps going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, engagement's engagement. So take it, ask questions, and you can learn a lot from your audience. Trolls or not.
Yeah. So your book, I don't know though. What's the name of the book? I know it's about the social
Social Shift.
The social shift. Yeah, either written down. So maybe explain exactly what you're covering in it.
Yeah, so it's all about showing up on social media to build community and to create less content, start creating better content. So all these platforms have a different community, they have a different culture, they have a different way of talking, they have different demographics. And when you know that going into creating content, you can create better content. So it's all about understanding how these platforms came to be, how community is so important, and how to build a community on social media that does want to leave social media to go one step further with you, whether it's by listening to your podcast or signing up to work with you or joining your Facebook group. I know that that's still on social media, but that is an action that they have to take to go one step further with you. So that is everything that's covered in the social shift. And it's all about building connection and building a community through intentional social media.
There's been a few people that are podcasters and they're recommending threads that they're getting a few followers from
Okay.
you. And I mean, I haven't, and I've just kind of gone into it now, so I'm going to be playing with it for a while. But just curious, did you try it? Have you stepped away from it? What's your thoughts on
Yeah.
threads?
Yeah, I actually am. I have a Threads account. I post very minimally over there because I just don't have the time, but I know that it is a great avenue for people that are looking to leave platforms like X, or don't want to experiment with a decentralized platform like BlueSky. Threads makes it easy because it's right inside the Instagram app. You can go back and forth pretty easily, share content easily. But just because it's there, doesn't mean that you have to be there. So again, look to see, like, am I getting engagement? Do people care? Are people liking and sharing? If they're not, then maybe you don't need to spend your time there just yet.
And Blue Sky, I haven't heard of that one. What's Blue Sky?
BlueSky is a decentralized platform like X or Threads. So decentralized means that nobody owns it and there's no algorithms. So you get the chronological feed. And yeah, you can choose who you follow. You don't get recommended, pages. It's only people that you follow. So it's kind of very old school social media.
Okay. But like, if how was the storage done? What are you like? Is it kind of similar that you put up pictures and stuff, or is it more kind of just content
All
writing,
text.
just text? Yeah, kind of X, kind of. Yeah. Well, I
Yep.
mean, it's no harm if there's something different to
Yeah.
X because X is extremely negative. I mean, I don't know. Have you experienced that? You go in and you want to just I
Yeah, I
post it
know.
and tag it, but every single thing is like 90% is negative and horrible that I don't want to see, and yet it's there.
Yeah.
So, and kind of, yeah, I prefer not to be on that. And just
Yeah.
finally, your podcast there, Rock Mountain.
Rocky Mountain Marketing, yeah, is my podcast.
Did you have it as a different name before, or was it always that?
It's always been Rocky Mountain Marketing.
Okay.
You know, I the podcast mostly gets listened in Colorado, which is great. But I mean, it definitely niches me down a bit for global reach. But it's been, I never thought I would still be going 5 years later. When I first started the show, I was like, man, how am I going to find things to talk about? Like enough social media things to talk about every week. Like I'm going to run out after 20 episodes, and I think I'm at like 390 right now. So, there's thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for always changing your algorithms and never, keeping things too stagnant in the social media world.
And I think that's an important thing for anyone that's looking to start a podcast. There's so much content there. And once you're paying attention to what's going on, and there's so many
Yeah.
people, they're happy to come on. So, like, even say the PodFather, like, even though I know so much, and I got 4 shows into the top 5%, they fluctuate in and out, but like,
Yeah.
I'm still learning so much. Like, today, the Substack, I mean, I know I was thinking that's more kind of email. I didn't realize of doing it the way that you said. So that's something that I'll actually start doing. And I think it's brilliant. But, and like just even listening to marketing podcasts, because every different guest that comes on is explaining something, and you don't have to be on 50 things, but you can go, ooh, that suits my market. And you just listen to somebody that's doing something similar, and it's like, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, Katie, thoroughly enjoyed it. You might let people know where they can find you, where they can find the podcast and the book as well.
Yeah, yeah. So connect with me on social media. Would love to connect with you. If you would like to have a complimentary audit, you can go to katiebrinkley.live/audit. And that's a great way to get a free social audit. We take a look at what you're doing, what's working, what's not working, and where you can make some improvements. And yeah, that's the just for your listeners here, Roy. So would love to be able to sit down and answer any questions that they might have. And then if you want to pick up some reading material, the book is available on Amazon, or you can get it at katiebrinkley.com/book, and it's called The Social Shift.
I'll make sure I put all the links both on the audio and the video. Thank you very much, Katie.
Thank you.
So that's all for the Speaking Podcast and the PodFather podcast. You'll find everything about me. Just scan the QR code or go to roycon.com. And if you're looking for a virtual assistant, Katie mentioned it a few times. We provide good ones. We've got packages for people starting at $99 because we know people's budgets as well. So we look after everything. And go to ba.world. Sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends. Check out Katie's podcast as well. Give her a 5-star rating. And if you buy the book, make sure you give her a rating as well. It all helps. Until next week, take care.